Hi, good day class. So we are here continuing sa ating 4.3 where we already discussed man sa ating mga microbial control, but here sa ating bacteriology we'll be quite reviewing some and also giving more information. So if na-discuss na sa previously, so i-summarize na lang for us to save time. Okay? The introduction sa aton nga microbial control. To prevent the spread of your human disease, it is necessary to control the growth and also the abundance of your microorganism in or on various items frequently used by human. Inanimate items such as your doorknobs, mga toys, towels which may harbor your microbes and aids in disease transmission are what you call your mites. And two factors heavily influence the level of your cleanliness requires for a particular fomites, and hence the protocol chosen to achieve this level. This first factor is the application for which the item will be used. For example, invasive application that requires insertion into a human body requires a much higher level of cleanliness than applications that do not. The second factor is the level of resistance to antimicrobial treatment by the potential pathogens. For example, your food preserves by canning often become contaminated with your bacterium Clostridium botulinum, which produces a neurotoxin that causes botulism. Because of your C botulinum, okay, ang C, di ba may mga shortcut kita sa aton nga naming or sa aton nga taxonomy, sa aton bacteria have your C botulinum. Your C stands for Clostridium. Okay, can produce endospore that can survive in harsh condition. Extreme temperatures and also pressures must be used to eliminate the endospore. Other organisms may not require such extreme measures and can be controlled by your mga normal procedures such as washing your clothes and also mga laundry machines. Now, sa itong laboratory biological safety levels, okay, for researchers or your laboratory personnel working with your pathogen, the risk associated with a specific pathogen determines the level of the cleanliness and also the control requirement. The Center for the Disease Control or your CDC, okay, and Prevention, and also your National Institute of Health or your NIH have established four classification levels called your biosafety level or your BSLs. Various organizations around the world, including your World Health Organization or your WHO and also your European Union, use a similar classification scheme. According to your CDC, your BSL is determined by the agent's infectivity, ease of transmission, and also the potential severity as well as the type of work being done with your agent. Ang ginamin niya ng agent is your microorganism or mga pathogens. Then your each BLC requires a different level of biocontainment to prevent contamination and also spread the infection agent to the laboratory personnel and ultimately to the community. For example, the lowest level of your BSL is your level 1 that requires the fewest precaution because it applies to a situation with a low risk for your microbial infection. We have here a better explanation for your BSL 1. You have agents of or those that are generally do not cause infection in your healthy human adult. This includes non-infectious bacteria such as your pathogenic strains of your Escherichia coli and also Bacillus subtilis. And also viruses known to be infect animals other than humans. Ibig sabihin, animals na nila target and the human will not be infected or get ill. Such as your baculoviruses or your insect viruses. Because working with your BSL-1s, agents possess very little risk, few precautions are necessary. Laboratory workers use the standard aseptic technique and may use work or use this with the agents to an open laboratory bench or table. Wearing your PPE, okay, such as your laboratory coat, goggles, and also gloves, will always be necessary. Other than the sink of the hand washing and also door to separate the laboratory from the rest of the building, no additional modifications are required. Now for your two, it includes the post or your model trace to your laboratory workers and to the community or surrounding area. They are typically indigenous, meaning that they are commonly found in a geographical area This includes their bacteria such as your Staphylococcus aureus and your Salmonella species. Okay, such viruses such as your hepatitis, your mumps, and also measles virus, your BSL-2 laboratories require additional precautions beyond your level 1, including the restricted access and also requirement for your PPE, including a face shield in some circumstances, and the use of your biological safety cabinet for procedures that may disperse agents through air or what you call your aerosolization. Your BSL-2 laboratories are required with self-closing doors and also eye wash station and an autoclave, which is specialized device for sterilizing your materials with pressure steam before or disposal. Then your level 1 repertoires may also be having your autoclave because your autoclave is a tool that sterilize all your equipment. Then for your level 3, okay, agents have the potential to cause lethal infections by inhalations. This may be either indigenous or what we call your exotic, meaning that they are derived from a foreign location and include your pathogens such as your Mycobacterium tuberculosis, okay, that causes your TB, and your Bacillus anthracis that causes anthrax, your wild Nile virus, and also your human immunodeficiency virus or your HIV. Now, because of the serious nature of your infections caused by your BSL-3 nga mga agents, okay, laboratories working with them requires restricted access. Laboratory workers are under medical surveillance, possibly receiving vaccination for the microbes with which they work on. In addition, for your standard nga PPE, mentioned the laboratory personnel in your level 3 laboratories must also wear a respirator and work with your microbes and infectious agent in a biosafe or biological safety cabinet at all times. Your level 3 laboratories requires a hand-free sink and an eye wash station near the exit and two set of your self-closing and locking doors at the entrance. These laboratories are equipped with a directional airflow, meaning that the clean air is pulled through the laboratory from a clean area to potentially contaminated areas. This air cannot recirculate so that the constant supply of clean air is required. Now, for your level 4, with the highest level of agent, is the most dangerous and often fatal. These microbes are typically exotic and easily transmitted via inhalation. They can also cause the infection for which there are no treatments or vaccination pa nga available. Okay, for example, is you have your Ebola virus and your Marburg virus, which both which cause hemorrhagic fever and your smallpox. There are only a small number of laboratories in your US around the whole world, approximately equipped with the work that these agents. In addition, for your level 3 precautions, laboratory workers in your level 4 facilities must also change their clothing on entering the laboratory and also showering on exit and decontaminating all material on exiting. While working in your laboratory, they must either wear a full body protective suit and also designated an air supply or conduct an all work within your biological safety cabinet with a high efficiency particulate air or your HEPA filter or filter air supply. Undoubtedly, your HEPA filter exhaust man para makagwa ang hangin. Then wearing a suit and the air pressure within the suit must be higher than what is outside sa atong nga suit. And it is if there is a fetal or leak sa aton nga suit, okay, laboratory air may be contaminated and cannot be drawn into the suit. The laboratory itself must be either located in a separate building or in an isolated portion of the building and have its own air supply. We have here a picture. Okay, this is a level 4. Okay, kita nyo yung class niya. Very isolated gid ang worker. Okay, ang worker yan it has its own air supply sa sulod. Okay, ang laboratory mismo, the hood itself has a circulating air and the room itself has a circulating air. So, tatlo na. Now, you have here a summarize or sa itong diagram. Okay, you have your 4. Okay, example ng viruses, you have your Ebola and your Marburg, your Microbial tuberculosis, your Staphylococcus aureus, and pathogens such as your E. coli. So, have your lowest to highest, then description. Okay, so atong sterilization. Now, for sterilization, okay, the most extreme protocol for your microbial control aims to achieve a sterilization. Okay, the complete removal or killing all your vegetative cells, endospore, and also viruses at a target item or sa aton nga environment. Your sterilization protocol are generally reserved for a laboratory, medical, and also manufacturer or sa aton nga food industry setting or it may be imperative for a certain item to be completely free from potential infectious agents. Sterilization can be accomplished through either physical means such as exposure to heat or high heat or pressure and also filtration through appropriate nga filter or by chemical means. The chemical can also be used to achieve your sterilization that is what you call your mga sterilants. Your sterilants is effective leak kills all your microbes and viruses and with your appropriate exposure time and can also kill your endospores. For many clinical purposes, aseptic technique is necessary to prevent contamination of your sterile nga mga surfaces. Aseptic. Aseptic technique okay, involves a combination of protocols that collectively maintains sterility or asepsis, thus preventing contamination of a patient with the microbe and infectious agents. Uh, Failure to practice mga aseptic technique during many types of your clinical procedure may introduce microbes to the patient's body and put the patients at risk for sepsis. A sepsis is infection sa microorganisms. Okay? A systematic inflammatory response to an infection that results in a high fever. Increases your heart and also respiratory rates, shocks, and possibly death. The medical procedures that carry the risk of contamination must be performed in a sterile field and designated area that keep free from all vegetative microbes and also in the spore kag mga viruses. Your sterile field are created according to the protocol required or requiring the use of a sterilized material such as your packaging, and your droppings. And restricted or strict procedures for washing and application of your sterilants. Other protocols are followed to maintain a sterile field while medical procedures is being performed. So what is sepsis? Let's search. And here the definition sa nga sepsis. An infection of your bloodstream. Nambalta. Makagsulod ang bacteria sa imo nga dugo. Okay, a cluster of your symptoms are drop or increasing heart rate and also fever. So same ang definition. Okay, may basay. Okay, one food sterilization okay. One food sterilizing protocol conventional sterilization use heat at a temperature low enough to preserve your food quality but high enough to destroy your common pathogens. So this is very important for you nga food technologies. And responsible for food poisoning such as your C. botulinum, your Clostridium botulinum because your C. botulinum and its endospore are commonly found in the soil. They may easily contaminate crops during harvesting and this endospore can later germinate within an anaerobic within an aerobic environment. Once foods are being canned, your metal cans of your food contaminated with your C-botulinum will bunch due to your micro production of gases. Contaminated jars of your food typically bulge at the metal lid to eliminate the high risk of your C-botulinum contamination. Commercially, food canning protocols are designed with a large margin of error. They assume all impossible massively large population of your endospore per can and aim to reduce that population into one endospore per can to ensure the safety of a canned food. For example, low and medium acid food are heated around 121 degrees Celsius for a minimum of 2.52 minutes, uh, which is the time it would take to reduce the population of your 10 raised to 12 endospore per can down to 1 endospore at that temperature. Even so, the commercial sterilization does not eliminate the presence of all microbes. Rather, it targets those pathogens that could cause your spoilage and foodborne diseases, while allowing many non-pathologic nga organisms to survive. Therefore, sterilization is somewhat of a misnomer in this context, and commercial sterilization may be accurately described as quasi-sterilization. Nga man, because ang target niya lang is ang Clostridium botulinum. Okay. Ang mga non-pathologic, okay, pwede i-exempt. Okay, so at anong tsura sa itong si Clostridium botulinum? Okay, in cat. Okay, cat. Okay, so, wait some picture. Na, or sa class, gahabok ang aton nga data. You have here, the-bulge ang ilang nga cans. So, that is your positive for Clostridium botulinum. Don't you ever take na sa mga lata nga ga-expand na. You have here, naglupok na gani. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Now, for other methods of your control, your sterilization protocol requires procedures that are not practical or necessary. In many settings, various other methods are used in your clinical and also non-clinical setting to reduce your biological load on items. Although the terms of these methods are often used to interchangeably, they are important distinction. The process of your disinfection inactivates most microbes on the surface of your fomites by using antimicrobial chemical or heat. Because some microbes remain, the disinfected item is not considerably cold or sterile. Ideally, disinfectant should be fast-acting, stable, and easy to prepare. Also, it is inexpensive and easy to use. An example of your natural disinfectant is your vinegar. Its acidity kills most microbes and chemically disinfectants such as your fluoride, bleach, or your products contaminating your chlorine are used to clean non-living surfaces such as your laboratory bench, clinical surface, yung mga bathroom sinks. Typically, your disinfection does not lead to sterilization because endosporin tends to survive even when they are vegetative states and have been killed. Unlike your disinfectants, aseptic are antimicrobial chemicals safe to use sa aton nga living skins or sa aton nga tissue. Example of your aseptics, okay, includes your hydrogen peroxide, okay, your H2O2 or atong tawag nga agua-oxinada, and your isopropyl alcohol. The process of applying your aseptic is called your antisepsis. In addition, for your characteristic of a good disinfectant, antiseptics may also be selectively effective against microorganisms and able to penetrate tissue deeply within causing tissue damage. The type of your protocols required to achieve the desired level of cleanliness depends on the particular item to be cleaned. For example, those used clinically and categorized as clinical or semi-critical and non-critical. Your critical nga items must be sterilized because they will be used inside sa atong body. For example, your mga transplant. Okay? Ibutang sa sulod sa body. You have yung mga metal transplant, mamuna. So, it is a critical item that should be 100% sterilized. Often, preventing sterile tissues and also bloodstream. Example of critical item includes your surgical instrument, mga catheters. Okay, kung ginakbulig sa atong kung hindi nagkikita kaihi, your catheters, your intravenous fluids or your IV lines. Then you have your gastrointestinal endoscope and various types of equipments for respiratory therapies and for example your critical items. They may contact mucous membranes or non-intact skin but do not penetrate tissue. Your semi-critical items do not physically needs to be sterilized but requires a high level of disinfection. Okay? Items may be in contact but not penetrate to the skin contact and for example your bed linings sa itong tray, your furnitures, yung crutches, your stethoscopes and blood pressure cups. These articles need to be clean but not highly disinfected. And the act of hand washing, for example, is degerming. Okay, degerming. It is which your microbial number are significantly reduced by gently rubbing your living tissue, mostly or commonly sa atong skin, with a mild chemical, which is your soap, to avoid transmission of your pathogen microbe. Wiping the skin with your alcohol swab at the site of your injection is another example of degerming. Okay, this degerming method removes most but not all microbes from your skin surface. And the term your sanitation refers to the cleansing of your fomites to remove enough microbes to achieve levels deemed to be safe for public health. For example, your commercial dishwasher used for the food service industry, okay, typically use hot water and air to wash for washing and also drying. The high temperature kills most microbes and sanitize your dishes. And also, surfaces aton nga hospital rooms are commonly sanitized using a chemical disinfectant to prevent disease transmission between patients and sa mga public or sa mga tao. We have summarized common protocols, definition, and also applications sa mga agents used to control your microbial growth. So you have here, mas summarize nga table. You have this disinfection, your definition, application nila kag common nga agent. Disinfection, you are using your chloride, bleach, your phenols, and you have, for example, mga Lysol na double class, mga Zonrox. Then you have your sanitation, it reduces microbial load in an eliminate item or safe for public levels. You have your detergent containing your phosphate, industrial scent cleaners, mga na. Your sterilization, a pressurized cream, you have your autoclave and chemicals, kag also radiation, which uses your UV lights. Then for your living tissues, you have antisepsis, okay, using of your boric acid, isopropyl alcohol, mga green cross na. Okay, you have hydrogen peroxide, your agooxinada, and also your iodine or aton nga betadine, which is the best nga antiseptic. Then you have your degerming, mga hand washing, paligo, muna. Now, measuring your microbial growth. Okay, physical and chemical methods of your microbial control that kills the targeted microorganisms are identified with the suffix with your side or CIDE or SIDAL. The prefix indicates the type of your microbe or your infections, agents killed or your treatment method. Your bactericides, okay, kills your bacteria. Your viricides or virucides, it kills your inactive viruses. And your fungicides kills fungi. Simple lang, di ba? Other methods to kill your microorganism but ends with a stop or their growth, making them population static. Okay, hindi na gina-inhibit na ang pag-multiply nila. Okay, such methods are identified with a suffix stat. Okay, big sabihin niya na is stop. Okay, stat or static. For example, uh, your bacteriostatic treatment inhibits the growth of your bacteria. Okay, ibig sabihin, nag-grow ka, okay, but naggamit ka na sang imo nga bacteriostatic nga reagent, ibig sabihin, kung ano lang ang nag-grow da. Okay, that is your final colony count. Hindi na na magtubo pa. Okay, where fungistatic treatment inhibits the growth of your fungi, factors that determine whether your particular treatment is sidal or static includes the type of your microorganism being targeted. The concentration of your chemical use and also the nature of your treatment is being applied. Although aton nga static treatments do not actually kill your infectious agent, they're often less toxic to your humans and other animals because hindi na sila mag-proliferate or mag-multiply. And also better preserve the integrity of the items treated, such as your treatment, are being typically sufficient to keep your microbial population of an item in check. The reduced toxicity of some of your static chemicals allows them to impregnate safely into plastic and to prevent the growth of your microbes on other surfaces. Such plastics are used in your products such as your toys for your children and also cutting board for food preparation. When used to treat an infection, rheostatic treatments are typically sufficient in otherwise healthy individual, preventing the pathogens from multiplying, thus allowing an individual's immune system to clear your infection. Now, sa atong degree sa atong microbial control, evaluated using your microbial death curve to describe the progress and also effectiveness of a particular protocol when exposed to a particular microbial control protocol. A fixed percentage of your microbial or microbes within the population will die. because of the rate of the killing of your remaining constant even with your population size varies. The percentage kill is more useful information than the absolute number of your microbes nga napatay. Your death curve are often plotted as a semi-log plot which your microbial growth curve becomes reduced to your microorganism in a typical logarithm. In the amount of time it takes for a specific protocol to reduce in order produce a one order of your magnitude decrease in a number of organisms, or the death of your 90% of your population is called your decimal reduction time, or your DRT, or your D value. So you have here, actually in high level pa ang imo nga microorganism. Okay? Ngayon nagamit ka na sa imo nga bactericidal or imo bacteriostatic. Okay? Gamat-amat na low ang imo number of your microorganisms. Okay? And also as the time pass by, you have here 5 minutes, 10, 15, okay? Hasta nga in 15 minutes, totally eliminated na. So this is your D value or sa imo nga decimal reaction time or sa ato nga D line. Okay, so let us continue. So several factors contribute to the effectiveness of your disinfecting agent or your microbial control protocols. First, demonstrated sa ating figure sa babaw, the length of your time exposure is very important. The longer exposure time, the longer exposure time kills more microbes because your microbial death of your population exposed to a specific protocol is logarithmic. It takes longer to kill a high population load than a low population load exposed to a same protocol. A shorter treatment time measured in a multiples of your D value is needed when starting a smaller number of your organism. The effectiveness also depends on the susceptibility of your agents, that is disinfecting agent or sa aton nga protocol. And also the concentration of your disinfecting agents kag intensity of the exposure is very important. For example, the higher temperatures and the higher concentration of your disinfectants kill microbes more quickly and effectively. Conditions that the limit between the agent and the targeted cells, for example, the presence of your body fluids, tissues, and also organic debris such as your mud, feces, kag also blood, or biofilm sa atong surface increases the cleaning time and intensity of your microbial control protocol. Requires to reach a desired level of cleanliness. All these factors must be considered when choosing your appropriate control sa aton nga microbial growth situation. So you have here mga key concept and also summary. We have your mga innate items, harbor microbes and aids. The transmissions are what you call your fomites. And the level of cleanliness required for your fomites depends on the items used and infectious agents with which the item may be contaminated. The CDC, or Center for your Disease Control, and for your NIH have established your biosafety safety levels, or BLC, and the laboratories performing research on infectious agents. Each level is designated to protect your laboratory personnel and also the people around ang mga community nga sa palibot. These BLCs are determined by an agent's infectivity, ease of transmission, and potential diseases severity, as well as the type of work being performed sa atong agent. Your disinfection removes potential pathogens while your fomites, whereas your antiseptic uses your antimicrobial chemicals safe enough for your tissues. In both cases, your microbial load is reduced, but your microbes may remain unless the chemical uses is strong enough to be sterile. The amount of your cleanliness or your sterilization versus the high level disinfection versus sa general cleanliness lang. Requires for an item used clinically depends on whether the item will come into contact sa aton nga sterile tissue. Ibig sabihin na ang mga transplant, which is your critical item. Kung mucous membranes lang, it is your semi-critical item. Ginapasulod lang for like sa imong nose, sa imong throat. Okay? And intact skin is not critical. So you have your medical procedures such as the risk for contaminating being carried into a sterile field, maintained by a proper aseptic technique to prevent sepsis, which is an infection sa atong blood vessels. Your sterilization is necessary for some medical applications as well as food industry, whereas your endospore, your Clostridium botulinum, are killed through commercial sterilization protocol kung sa diin target lang patyon ang C. botulinum and leaving your mga non-pathologic microorganism behind. Your physical and chemical methods are control your microbial growth as a result in death of your microbes. Indicates your suffix CID or cidal, your bactericides, vericides, fungicide or bactericidal, viricidal, and fungicidal. Whereas those inhabits your microbial growth are indicated by suffixes your stat or static. Kung gina-stop lang ha or gina-halt or gina-inhibit is what you call your stat, your bacteriostatic, fungistatic. Your microbial death curve displays the logarithmic decline of living microbes exposed to a method of microbial control. The time it takes as a protocol is yield from your 1 minus log 19% reduce your microbial population as decimal reduced time or your D value. When choosing a microbial control protocol, factors such as considering the including the length of your exposure time, the type of your microbe being targeted or kung mga endospore na siya, so need mo higher time, accessibility of your protocol, and the intensity of your treatment, the presence of your organism that may interfere with your protocol, and the environmental conditions that may alter the effectiveness of your protocol. So that would be all sa aton nga 4.3 sa aton nga microbial control. So stay tuned sa aton nga chapter, ang mga next chapter because we are in coming years sa aton nga end. That will be all class. Stay safe always and God bless.